Hey guys, welcome back. And as you can see, we can see all the secrets now in the Cosi Talk studio because I didn't take into account that my very handsome co-host is much, much taller than I am. So guys, everybody meet Alex DeHinton.
Hi, everyone.
He is coming to us from Las Vegas, Nevada, from the Prosthetics Center of Excellence for day 3 of the Cosi Talks 101 live event series. So welcome. Woo-hoo. Welcome to my humble garage studio.
Glad to be here.
Guys, we've got a wonderful show planned for today. The past 2 days have been so exciting. I debuted 2 new talks full of brand new content. First day was all about balance, telling you how your brain processes balance, how it's impaired with amputation, and how you can work on it. Yesterday, we talked about the human core, right? 4 parts of the human core. Guys, I know you guys out there remember this part. We've got the front abdominals, the back extensors, the diaphragm, and the pelvic floor. Sorry, guys, I'm trying to get my chat section going so I can see you guys. There we go. Now I can see all your comments. We are doing a little bit different things today with technology, so bear with us, folks. Thank you for your patience. All right, we got Lonnie on board. We got Bonnie, Kevin Harrison. We got Laura. We've got Rita from Michigan, my United Kingdom. We got UK represented here today. We got Maggie on board. Shamir, Royce, there's my Irish lass right there. We've got David Munch. Hey, David from Southern Florida. Guys, we got a nice show. So today we're going to be talking about the gait cycle, specifically what goes wrong with the gait cycle after limb loss and when you're learning to use a prosthesis. And one of the main reasons, and not just because he's an amazing prosthetist, but he's a prosthetist. So I love, you guys hear me talking on the show about the importance of the team approach when you're recovering from limb loss, from the moment you come out of the OR to years out of your amputation, okay? So the importance of having your team working together, the prosthetist and the physical therapist especially. And it's something that you're gonna kind of get a sneak peek behind the scenes as to how we will view things differently, but to provide a better, well-rounded view for the better of our patients. So thank you for being here today. Yes. So how do you like this weather compared to Las Vegas?
It's nice. It's cooler. We definitely have. I saw Jody there made a comment from being in Las Vegas, and it's up to 106 today. So this is like a cool breeze.
So 90 degrees here, and in the garage ain't so bad. So it doesn't sound so bad anymore.
I'll take it.
All right, guys, and then we've got 3 live giveaways.
Oh,
and at the there's Reggie. Oh my gosh, yes, he made it. And at the end of today's show, guys, we're going to be announcing our 2 swag bag raffle winners. And those folks are going to walk away with a package that's worth $200 full of goodies. And we had everybody pitching in for that one. I put some goodies in there. Prosthetics Center of Excellence donated some wonderful things. Yeah. Vital Fit donated some of their products. College Park donated their goodies. And we also have Socket Socks. So guys, I do want to take this chance to thank my sponsors, College Park Industries and Prosthetics Center of Excellence. Guys, I could not have done this live event without the 2 of them. It's been a rough year with COVID, so to have that support is invaluable. And to my supporters, Vital Fit and Socket Socks for making these donations for these giveaways, very much appreciated. And we're going to learn a little bit more about Prosthetics Center of Excellence a little bit later on in the show, because I want you guys to see what a model prosthetic clinic looks like and what a model prosthetist will look like. All right, guys. Good morning, Kay, from chilly morning in Alaska. Alex, we are 38 degrees, so from one end to the other. Okay. So, guys, if you're wondering why I'm standing today, it's because we're talking about gait. We're going to be talking about the gait cycle. We're going to be showing you the basics of the gait cycle and showing you some of the things that go wonky, right? And that's my official professional term for it. When you start learning how to use a prosthesis and how to identify certain things and how you can help communicate with your clinician. All right. So guys, a lot of times when my patients come into clinic, they'll talk to me and they'll say problems that they might be experiencing with their prosthesis. And a very common one is they'll tell me, I'm walking with a limp. I'm still walking with a limp, or it looks funny when I walk, or I'm drawing attention to myself when I'm walking and people are seeing my prosthesis. Okay. So the fancy word for all of this is gait deviations. It's a deviation from what's considered to be a normal textbook gait pattern. So what are the common things that you hear patients saying when they come in?
What's interesting about in physical therapy and in prosthetics, what I think a lot of us love and learn to love if we don't initially is we become a translator. Right? So someone comes in and they might say something, they might even have a problem with expressing what they're feeling at the time. So we have to put on our clinician hat. We always have to have that on and make sure that we know what we're looking for, but then also to listen to what someone is feeling. So a lot of times there's a difference between someone who's a new amputee, right? And a lot of you have probably experienced that some of the gait deviations or the gait differences that you experience as a new amputee are different from maybe some things that you're experiencing now. We've talked a little bit about different muscles that after amputation you might have not used for a while, right? Which then express themselves as when you're starting to walk again, you're like, oh, this feels tight, or oh, this is something I need to work on.
Yes. And
that works itself out over time with some guided clinical care and prosthetic intervention as well as physical therapy.
That's right. That's right. So who else we got? We got John on board. Good afternoon, John. Thank you for joining us. We got Jean in from California. She was a winner for last night. She got a nice she's going to get a nice Cosi Talks mug. We got Cortland from New York. Linda. Hey, there's my girl Lynette. That's another PT on board. So thank you again, guys, for supporting the show and also for my fellow clinicians for tuning in today. So guys, I got a dirty little secret about the human gait pattern. There is no such thing as a perfect, normal gait pattern. And they're like, really?
Right.
Yeah. Okay. So guys, to me, and we were discussing this a little bit earlier today when we were doing the pre-content, human gait patterns are as unique as fingerprints. Okay, so true story, when I was working first in Jackson Memorial Hospital, because I was the rookie, I got the earlier shift, right? So I was one of the first people in the clinic, and I would be at the computer looking at my patient census, and the door was behind me. And I had this great little parlor trick where anybody who would walk in the door, I could say, good morning, so-and-so, and identify the person without looking, just because of their step gait pattern, right? It was great. They thought I had a mirror somewhere, but it's like, no, everybody's gait pattern is unique to them, okay? So when it comes to doing gait training, when it comes to analyzing gait, we always have to keep that in mind, okay? And, I can remember, I've been doing this for 18 years now. When I first started out as a therapist, they teach you obviously in school the textbook gait pattern, what a gait pattern should look like, right? And then you see your patients and you're going, well, this is wrong, and this is wrong, and that is wrong, and this is wrong, and you get so caught up in all the different ways that their gait is different. And I've learned over the years, yes, to identify what is different and unique about a person's gait, but to really be able to identify what is pathologically different, meaning what is causing a problem in a person's gait pattern, what is causing them to be inefficient, what is causing them to expend too much energy, what's causing them to develop pain, right?
And that's a good point. Yeah. Whereas there's times when you want to intervene and address and help someone with figuring out what they need to do to address that issue, and other times you just need to educate.
Yeah,
you need to let them know that this is, this thing that you're seeing. Let them know the causes and let them know what they can do to address that, or if they even need to address it, or if it's just their unique swagger.
Yep,
that plays into it as well.
And that's where I learned it from, guys. So I had amazing mentors, I had amazing instructors, but I learned so much from my patients. My patients who would see me going like this, going, what? And they would say to me, this is how I used to walk. That little blip in my walk that you're seeing, that used to always be there, okay? And this is where you can communicate so much to your clinicians and saying, yes, this was there before I was an amputee, or no, this is something brand new, or this is something that is now causing me a problem, right? So as we mentioned, not every gait deficit, every gait deviation, every gait blip, whatever you want to call it, not every single one of them can be eliminated, okay? But we do want to get rid of the ones that are causing problems and help the individual get a nice, as smooth as possible gait pattern that gives you stability and maneuverability. Okay, both ends of the spectrum there. Okay.
Because as clinicians, to kind of add to that, as a prosthetist, you're obviously looking for the prosthetic cause potentially for that gait deviation. As a therapist, you're looking potentially for that how therapy intervention could help them.
Yep.
So as a patient or as a client, you're kind of in the middle of it. You're at times might be trying your hardest. So you need to have that team around you to make sure that we're all on the same page and that we're giving you the best tool that you need to succeed.
Yep.
I think that's what it boils down to a lot of times.
Yep.
Working together, definitely the foundation of this.
Mm-hmm. And the team approach. And it's just interesting. Like I love talking with prosthetists like Alex, and just when we look at a gait pattern on a video of somebody walking, and just I pick up, and I learned so much from what they will see. So
I may have been showing your gait videos earlier today, and may have been nerding out.
Maybe just but y'all are used to me being a nerd. This guy's going to take it to another level today. So with that being said, guys, why do we bother fixing some of these gait deviations when folks come in? Okay, I just basically said, well, gait deviations are a normal part of our human gait cycle. Okay, but again, the key word here is a pathological gait deviation, something that is causing a problem. Usually, one of the biggest problems is pain, right? That there's something not right with the gait cycle, and there's pain in the gait cycle somewhere. And also energy expenditure. That's a big goal for me, is to get someone walking smoothly enough, okay, so that they're not spending so much energy. And then on the psychological side of things, and this is something that Reggie and I got into a lot yesterday, a lot of people want to smooth out their gait pattern because they don't want people just to see their prosthesis, right? When you see someone walking down the street or in the grocery store, many of my patients will say to me, it's people just automatically look at my leg, and I feel it's because I am presenting with some sort of gait deviation, and I want people to see me first. Guys, love to hear your comments on this. Hey, Leslie, guys, I'm going to give out a shout out to Leslie Sisson. She is one of the co-owners of the Prosthetic Center of Excellence. She is the one who flew Alex down and gave us this opportunity to work together today. Yes. So Leslie, thank you so much. Thank you so much for letting me have him for a day. Love it. All right, guys. So last summer, I did a full show on the gait cycle and breaking it down into its little bite-sized pieces. We're not going to do that completely again today because, again, that's a whole show in and of itself. Right. But if you do want to catch that show, we are going to put the link up there for you, and you can go to my YouTube channel and you'll be able to see that show again. And I would highly encourage you, I'm kind of proud of that one, where we take the gait cycle and just explain to you with some of the vocabulary that we use in the clinic how the human gait cycle works, okay? Today we're just going to do just the super basics, right? Human gait cycle. I'm going to cheat notes here, guys. Give me a minute. All right? With the human gait cycle, you have two basic phases, and maybe we'll just angle the camera down just a smidgen. I know, we're so high tech here. I love it. All right, so the human gait cycle can be broken down into two main phases. The swing phase, where basically your foot is swinging through the air, and your stance phase, where the foot is connected to the floor. Now, in general literature, they will say that 60% of the time your foot is in stance phase. It's connected to the floor somehow, and 40% is swing phase. Now, obviously, as you walk faster, those percentages are going to change a little bit, and it's also unique to the individual. So we're just going to show you an example of one complete gait cycle, and then we're going to move on, okay? So if we're referencing my outer leg, which is my left leg, okay? Thank you, Kristen. So a gait cycle begins when my heel strikes the floor, I step with my left, my right leg swings through, and my heel strikes the floor again with my left. That is considered to be one gait cycle, okay? Let's get back to the screen. So when your prosthetist and your physical therapist are analyzing your gait cycle, when they are writing notes, that's our frame of reference right there, is one gait cycle. And oftentimes, I know you probably do this, I will take videos of my patients, and thank goodness for camera phones nowadays, because it was so much harder 18 years ago to do this, and put the slow motion version on and just look at that one piece of the gait cycle. Now, within that gait cycle, there's a whole lot of stuff going on in stance phase and a whole lot of stuff going on in swing phase, and that's the part where you can go to my YouTube channel and watch that video a little bit more. Yeah?
Indeed. What I also love to do is when we go through and analyze that, not just for me to look at that, but also to do it with the patient. Show it in front of the patient, see what I'm seeing, get some feedback, see what they're seeing. Because oftentimes, like, you have to go in with an open mind as a patient, but we have to go in as an open mind as a prosthetist as well. Exactly. Because there's been some times when I've been guided by patients where I'm like, I'm not sure if we necessarily want to go down that route, but let's do it. Like, you want to do it, let's do it. And as long as you're being safe about it, then let's give it a try.
And a picture's worth 1,000 words, guys. A lot of times, I'll take my patient's phone and I'll video record them. And I love, this is honestly my big thrill, is I love doing the recording on the very first day. And they're just like, why are you recording me? I look terrible. And I'm like, yes, let's take a recording. And then a month later, shoot that video again and just see the comparison.
Here's a little pro tip. Do it on your phone and then show it to your therapist.
Yes. Yes. And actually, many of you have sent me questions about your gait cycle. And one of the things I'll tell you to do is to do a video of yourself walking in the sideways plane and then straight on in the camera. Those are the two main ways that we will analyze gait patterns. And there are certain gait deviations, and you're going to see this in just a moment, certain gait deviations that are not visible in one plane, that sometimes you have to turn to the different plane and boom, there you can spot the gait deviation. So again, nerding out big time here. Let me go ahead and read some of these comments. Jean says, we all want to be seen. Yes. Charles says, exactly on the looking different with my gait step. Johnny says, I like to show off my nuts and bolts because they are what makes it possible for me to do what I do. I love that, Johnny. Let's see. Brian says, at times, no one can tell if I have jeans on. In winter months, if I get lazy, I see it with jeans or not. And as I get lazy, I feel my body going off from smooth to struggling. And that makes me focus and adjust. Yeah. Let's see. Kenny says, notice that people's eyes were focus of my below the knee amputation and ask if I'm military. Yep. Did you see Reggie's?
I did see Reggie's.
So we'll get to that in Alex's personal interview. We'll put him on the spot for that one. So right now, guys, it was kind of a challenge because again, there are hundreds of documented gait deviations out there. Like literally, I have binders full of the different ways that people can present with gait deviations as above the knee, as below the knee, as bilateral, as not having an amputation at all, okay? Probably the most common one. The very first one you learn, I know at PT school, I don't know about prosthesis school.
First, yeah.
It's called the Trendelenburg gait, okay? And I remember this so well because I remember our professor taking us out onto our college campus, having us sit down and just watch everybody walking by, and he would tell us, spot people who have the Trendelenburg gait. And it's amazing how prevalent it is just even in the general population, okay? Many of you have actually identified this on yourself. The Trendelenburg gait is caused by weakness of the gluteal muscles. And y'all who've been watching my show, you know how much I like to emphasize that it's all about the butt when it comes to strengthening. So we're gonna show you a video now of a below the knee amputee who is exhibiting Trendelenburg gait. Now, keeping in mind that this is something that can happen to an above the knee and a below the knee amputee, unilateral, bilateral. And we're gonna see it first from the side view, the lateral view, which you're not gonna have a very easy time seeing it. And then we're gonna see it from the forward view. And I do wanna take the time to thank Mission Gait Organization for allowing us to use this video off of their YouTube channel, folks. That's another one you wanna right click and check out their channel after the show is over. Okay, I'm gonna stop talking so we can let this video come on. Drum roll that we are gonna. All right, folks. So hopefully you can see this gentleman. And as you can see, he's got a pretty good looking gait pattern. Young man.
Young, strong.
Yeah. As you can see when he steps, here's where I like it in the slow-mo. When he steps on his prosthesis, there's an ever so slight dip on the other side, but it's hard to see from this particular angle, okay? In just a few moments, the camera is going to switch angles and we'll be able to see him head on. There's other things about this young man's gait pattern that we're going to show you also in just a few moments. What I want you guys to notice, take a look at his left arm, guys, compared to his right arm. Keep that pearl in the back of your head for just a moment because I'll be bringing that up in just a moment. Can we fast forward just a smidgen? There. Okay, so now we're going to really be able to see as he steps with his right, okay, he does a little dip on the left, and you'll also see he's leaning with his trunk. Look at what his trunk is doing. His trunk is leaning over towards his prosthetic side. All right, so let's see him from the back.
What's interesting too is as he leans to the right, his head needs to compensate.
Yep,
and pull to the left.
Exactly. Yep. Okay, so can we click back to the regular screen? All right. Oops. Please hold. There we go. Okay, sorry guys, we're switching back and forth. Hey Patrick, there's my other physical therapist. Yes, Kevin, we are doing algebra, geometry, trigonometry, and calculus today. So let's review this again, guys, because this is something, and we're going to show you the video after we're done, just so you can kind of recap on everything. Kristen, can we dip the camera just a little bit? All right, guys, so this is what happens with a Trendelenburg gait. we're going to pretend that I am a right-sided amputee, okay? So when I take a step with my right, because my right gluteal muscles are weak, this dips down. My opposite side dips down. And then I step. I step with the right and it dips down. Now, obviously, I'm exaggerating a lot. Usually what it looks like is it can be something very subtle like this. Okay? Kind of a sachet almost, right? So you're stepping with your prosthetic side, and because these are weak, the other side dips down, and here's why, okay? When you step with your prosthetic side, okay, my right-sided glutes are what's keeping my left side up. It's the opposite. It's a little weird to think about it. If this side is weak, boom, this is gonna stay down. So what happens if this is weak, this dips down, right? Then I'm gonna lean over to my prosthesis to bring this back up again. And then I'm gonna fall over, okay? Then I'm gonna bring my head up this way to keep myself upright. Guys, that's the main goal of our gait pattern. Our brain is trying to keep us upright. Our brain is using, say it with me guys, visual, vestibular, and somatosensory to keep us upright. So when our brain senses, okay, hip is dipping, then the brain says, okay, shift it over this way. And then the brain says, oh wait, your head, now shift it over this way, right? So you've got a lot of different things going on just to keep the person upright. Obviously, I'm exaggerating a lot right now just so you guys can see this. And then Alex also pointed out what happens when there's weakness on both sides.
Yeah.
Right? Do you want to do the sachet?
The wall.
The wall. The sachet.
So
if there's weakness on both sides,
you
right?
guys waddle back and
It's a
forth.
little bit exaggerated, but you will see that. And that happens a lot, guys, especially those of you who are waiting to have your prosthesis issued to you, is that you're a bit more sedentary. So the side of your amputation is getting weak, but so is your other side. And there's an imbalance there, and you can have a double Trendelenburg gait, where you step with one, it dips down. You step with the other, it also dips down, okay? Obviously a bit exaggerated, okay? So one of the things wait, let me catch up on some of these comments, make sure. Yes, Patrick, definitely Trendelenburg there. Glute medius weakness. And we're gonna do some exercises, guys, later on today with my very special guest, Suzanne, who's here, she's right there. And we're gonna be doing some exercises to teach you how to strengthen this particular weakness here. Okay, compensation strategies. And that's exactly it, Patrick. And this is the part for me as a clinician that I love to do. Like, this is what got me interested in the clinical side of treating those with limb loss, is figuring out the puzzle. What is the missing piece in the puzzle in the gait analysis? Figuring out, where is this coming from? Is it coming from glute weakness?
Right.
Okay. And guys, you noticed in the video, we're going to pop that video on in just a moment again, so you guys can really take a look at it again. If you notice in the video, the gentleman was compensating by leaning over to his prosthetic side. Now, there's other causes of that, right?
Indeed.
Okay.
Indeed. So there's, when we looked at this video together, it was interesting because I think Cosi naturally tends towards the physical therapy side, and I tend towards prosthetic side. So I concentrate on what's happening with the prosthesis, how that translates to the rest, and Cosi's like, oh, that could be that muscle weakness in there. So having that collaboration was huge, and it's I think the funnest part of all of this is being able to work that together. So with the prosthetic side, if you see someone leaning over to one side, you might first assume that there might be a height difference, right? Mm-hmm. You might think that it might be, if they're leaning, and depending on where they lean, it could either be a Trendelenburg gait that they're masking, because if there's sound side, what I had to learn in school was the sound side sags, right? So for Trendelenburg gait, your sound side, so your non-prosthetic side or your non-affected side, is the side that the hip that leans down. So that means that your affected side effectively seems taller. So is that a prosthetic cause? Is it that the prosthesis is actually too tall and you're exhibiting a Trendelenburg-like gait because the prosthesis is too tall? Mm-hmm. If your prosthesis is too tall, are you fully entered in your prosthesis? Do you have too many socks on? Is your limb volume larger? Mm-hmm. All of those kind of things are needed to be considered.
Yep. And this is oftentimes what you'll see in school. They teach you, these are the prosthetic causes for this gait deviation. These are the individual, the physical, patient reasons for this particular gait deviation. But in real life, it's usually a combination of both.
Right.
Okay, so we were saying A person who has weakness, they're going to have that Trendelenburg. And once again, this is my weak side, right? So they're going to be dipping down and leaning over. But by the same token, which happens with a lot of my patients, when they start shrinking, they're sinking more into their socket. So they are shorter, right, on their prosthetic side, and they're having to lean over to clear their foot from dragging.
Right.
So there's a lot of different little moving pieces that you have to constantly troubleshoot. And again, guys, this is where your communication with your prosthetist and physical therapist really helps out, because if I see someone coming in and I'll go, that wasn't there the last time we treated you, and they can tell me, well, this is what I'm feeling, this is what's changed, and this is where I think it's coming from, my socket is pinching, or I feel like my knee is buckling, and trying to suss out what's coming from where.
What you want to avoid and try to keep out of is the blame game, right?
Yes.
So we've all been there as clinicians, where someone comes in and me as a prosthetist make the most beautiful socket, and
that PT doesn't know what they're doing, doesn't know how to train, and then I'll say, well, geez, that must have been the socket you made on Friday at 4 p.m. or lots of stuff like that, guys.
Exactly.
And here's what things change. Okay, so yes, they may have seen you at Friday at 4 p.m. and I know you would have done a beautiful socket on them, but then when they come see me on Monday morning at 10 a.m., right, a couple of days have passed, different things happen, and things start to change. So another thing to look at, so for example, I know Alex was looking at this young man's alignment in the video, and for me, I'm looking at his arm swing. Right? I'm looking at to see how even, or in his case, he's not quite so even with his arm swing. I'm looking to see what happened to his trunk rotation. And guys, we talked a lot about that in the balance talk on Tuesday and on the core talk on Wednesday. What happens when you have balance deficits? When you have deficiencies in your core, you get that stiff soldier gait pattern. Now, in this young man's case in the video, it's very subtle. It's not as obvious as this. But if you notice, his arm swing is not quite as even. So we're going to play that video one more time now that we've kind of given you guys all this information.
One thing, as you're looking at these videos or even filming yourself, this is something I like to do as well. If you hold up your hands and block out an area of the body that you're not looking at. So if you're concentrating just on the hip, sometimes just blocking and almost doing like a little window to where you're only concentrating on that, not being distracted by all the stuff
Everything else going on.
And then you can open up that frame to look at the other stuff in context too. That's something that
I like that. Yeah, because sometimes I'll see and I'll go, good heavens, I'm not sure what I'm looking at. I think it has to go to the previous video.
I think so. You can reload
Can we do that? There we go. Okay, so as you can see him on his left hand, guys, his left arm, not swinging quite so much out. And again, this is very, very subtle. I'm nitpicking at this point, okay?
Also see how the time in swing, the amount of time that he spends on his. It's hard with the slow motion.
I know. Yeah. Now it looks actually pretty even when I see what you're saying. Yeah, not spending. Another very common thing that we'll see, folks, is people not spending as much time on their prosthesis, and that can be caused for several different reasons. We're going to get to that in just a moment.
When you're looking at for example, the prosthetic foot, you see how much time he spends on that toe and how soft that toe is as well. So that'd be something that'd be interesting to play around a little bit with alignment, play around with a stiffer prosthetic foot, because it
almost looks like it's a little too soft.
Yep,
Am I looking at the right way?
And it might be, it might not be. That's what's hard.
To see to figure it out.
If that's how he prefers to walk.
Okay, so in this young man's case, obviously working on strengthening his glutes, getting those glutes nice and strong, but also doing upper body work, teaching him how to do a bit more of the trunk rotation, how to really engage that arm swing just a little bit more. So just start dissociating the upper body from the lower body and getting things to move a little bit more independently of each other. All right, let's click on back. Okay, so once again, thank you to Mission Gait Organization for allowing us the use of that video. Thank you very much. All right, so let's see some comments here. So Patrick says, could pelvic dysfunction or scoliosis be detective work? It's a fun part of our job. And yes, as you can see, Patrick is one of our physical therapists from New York. So definitely, guys, if there's anything's going on with your skeletal alignment, okay, and again, this is where the history that you give your clinician is so invaluable. Because I can just say, okay, you had a pre-existing scoliosis prior to your limb loss. Right. So I'm going to expect to see either uneven hip or rotations in the hip or rotation in the actual pelvic bone. And we need to be able to communicate that to the prosthetist to see how do we compensate for that, okay? Do we let the person cheat a little bit? Do we give them a little bit of leg length discrepancies and how it travels down the human skeletal form, right? So yes, a lot of these things go into account. And it can be, and I have some patients that are much more complicated that it might take me 3 to 4 times of working with them to really get in there and figure out this is what's going on with their gait pattern and really getting to know who they are in their gait pattern. So Joan says, this is my issue, not spending time on my prosthesis and not swinging my arm on my good side. The socket hurts my tibia or cut circulation up altogether. And we've been trying to fix it for over a year now. So again, this is one of those things, Joan, where it could be something coming from the socket. But again, if you don't have good hip strength, and I found this out with one of my patients, it was one of those like duh moments, right? Socket is beautifully aligned. Everything can be beautiful. But if you're not strong in that socket and you're not really holding yourself strong, and Joan, I know you're below the knee, but it applies to you as well, then it's always going to present a problem with pain. So it's the twofold scenario. You need the strength and the stability and also a very well-made socket and alignment. Okay?
What is reassuring about that is it's sorry, Joan, that you've been going through those issues, of course, but your process keeps working on them.
Yep.
And I'm sure it's trying a whole bunch of different things.
Mm-hmm.
That's the nature of the game, unfortunately. Sometimes, we need to try a few different things, try a few different methods, systems, components. So that's really reassuring to see.
Absolutely. And Kay, yes. Can a knee contracture lead to this as well? Yes. And let's see if we can't mimic that. That's a common thing that happens in my below the knee amputees. So again, if we're referencing this, and let me see if I can kind of mimic, and you'll see it again, this is a particular gait deviation that you'll see better in the lateral and side plane, right? So if the person has a knee contracture, right, it's going to be very hard for them to take a full step. Why? Because they cannot extend that knee out and hit that heel, right? So if they've got a knee contracture, one of the first things you're going to see is because they can't extend that knee and take a full step. And then along with the knee contracture, usually you'll start to see the hip contracture. That's another thing that they taught us in PT school. If you're looking at one joint, you look at the joint above and the joint below, and you trace your way back up to the culprit and see where it's coming from.
So, and when we're talking about contractures from the prosthetic side, we're looking to sometimes accommodate a contracture.
Yes.
So if someone has we want that upright posture.
Mm-hmm.
So if someone has a knee flexion contracture, we don't want the prosthetic foot necessarily to be pointed all the way back there and at the end of the socket. We might have to align our prosthesis so that the pylon comes down in that flex position. Mm-hmm. That's something to get used to sometimes as a new amputee. If you're working against that flexion contracture, it might not look straight.
Yeah.
And that's because the alignment is unique to your body at that moment in time. One thing we'll do a lot of times too is align someone in a little bit more of an extension position. So it'll feel really tight on the back hamstrings, but we're looking to stretch those out.
Exactly.
So we can use prosthetic alignment to help with.
And that's actually one of my favorite quote unquote tricks. I know I have a lot of folks who come in with a hip flexion contracture, and the prosthetist will put a hip flexion plate to help accommodate for that flexion contracture. Because again, and this question was asked on my show last week, how do you start working out contractures and tightness? And the answer to that is very carefully and slowly. Because if you go and yank on a tendon that's been really tight, you're going to cause injury. Yep. So a lot of times, yes, the prosthetist needs to accommodate and give that contracture its space and accommodate the alignment while the therapist is working that contracture out. And a lot of times, so for example, the hip flexion plate, right? They'll put that in there to accommodate the hip flexion contracture. They'll come to me for about 3 weeks, right? And all of a sudden at the 3-week mark, the patient's like, this just isn't comfortable anymore. The reason is because we've started to work out that hip flexion contracture. Time to send them back to that prosthetist, take the hip flexion plate out, and move forward, okay? It's a constant reassessment, constant communication, okay? Looking at these differences in the gait, right? Yes, Reggie, thank you for feeding me that question because that's a big one. Could a prosthesis that is too short or too long contribute to a gait deviation? Absolutely. And that's actually the first thing. That is the first thing, because it's the easiest thing to check. It's just the easiest thing to check, right? You put the person in the position, you get up close and personal right here with the hip bones, and you check to see, and you start with the hip bones, and then you move to other landmarks in the body that we will check, right? Up, nose and knees and toes and all over the place. But leg discrepancies in the prosthesis is the most common gait deviation.
Yep.
And it's the first one we look for. A lot of times in my clinic, it's because a person is not using enough socks or using too many socks, right? You use too many socks and you get lifted up out of that socket, right? And your prosthesis is too long, right? You're shrinking and you're sinking into the socket, and all of a sudden your prosthesis is too short, right? So that's usually one of the easy ones to start with.
And there's to the point earlier made about scoliosis.
Yeah.
You know, scoliosis is something we have to accommodate for. If someone had scoliosis at a young age and now they're 40, 50 years old and underwent amputation, we need to accommodate that scoliosis. We're not going to be able to force the body into a position it doesn't want to be.
Right.
So something that isn't maybe perfectly level for that person feels level.
Yeah.
And is level for them in their unique presentation.
Yeah. And I would say with scoliosis, especially in the adults, once that scoliosis is set in and those growth plates are set, usually it's a matter of, okay, how can we prevent the scoliosis from getting worse with certain orthotics?
Right.
And then also how can we accommodate it to prevent pain, to prevent other chronic issues down the line? Linda says, I've been working on my contracture for the last 2 months and happy to say with my new socket, it's now in alignment. And that's a great thing. But again, it took you 2 months, Linda. It
Hard work
takes
pays
time.
off.
And guys, there are times where these contractures are fixed. There does come a time, unfortunately, where you might be working on a person and realize this is as much we're going to get. The only way we would ever get more is if we send that person back to surgery. And usually it doesn't warrant doing that. It's simply making alignment changes in the socket. Okay, you guys are putting in some great questions. And guys, let me just put this in here right now. If we miss your question today, please forgive us. Send me a message through my email at my website, cositalks.com, and I will get back to you about your question. So if we miss it, send it to me. John asks, how does a prosthetist help an amputee when that person's gait pattern changes as they are walking more? I notice mine changes as the day goes on, and I add socks because of the changes to my residual limb. You want to answer that one first? Or you want me to?
Yeah. So how does the process help an amputee? I'm walking more during the day. So is it
noticing your pattern changes either
so
throughout the day or throughout the days, right? Throughout the days or throughout the weeks that your gait pattern changes. So, John, my question to you would be, how are you managing your socks? How is your residual limb volume throughout the day? But what weakness do you have? That's the PT side of me saying, what muscles are weak that by the end of your day, you're tired and you're fatigued and it's not keeping up with the endurance, right? And
we'll even see that in appointments where someone starts off, especially a new amputee, they might start off working a certain way, and then you can just kind of tell that they start to tire, and that's fine because that for them is a workout. That session right there is like going to the gym for 2 hours for someone else. So we just have to put that into context and make sure we're working on that.
And guys, this is something I really hammer in the show. Our bodies age, and we have to do more maintenance as they age. So when it comes to strengthening and keeping your strength, keeping your endurance, keeping your power, that is a lifelong pursuit, the lifelong pursuit of strengthening. So that's something that you always have to use it or lose it.
A lot of times, if, let's say for John's question there, if you're finding that your gait changes because of a socket that ends up starting to fit well, but then it's a little bit less well fitting over the day as you shrink, monitor first of all sock wear. Make sure that you're keeping track of what kind of socks you're wearing during the day, even as it changes. Bring that to your process. But a lot of times, if you're shrinking during the day, you're going to have other issues as well. Your socket's going to start rubbing in certain areas. The bottom of your tibia might be hitting against the socket. You might experience that bell clapping back and front that a lot of transtibial amputees, unfortunately, have to go through if their socks aren't right. So all of those things would help guide a prosthetist or physical therapist to figuring out, hey, is this a weakness thing? Or is it because the limb volume is changing and we have to make some adjustments to the socket?
Absolutely. Now I'm going to answer Jeff's question, then we're going to move on to the next part of it. Jeff asks, I'm walking a mile or two a day in the last 3 months, but now I'm experiencing lower back pain. So again, Jeff, without being right in front of you and assessing you and doing the right thing, obviously something you might want to look at is there something in your alignment, that's possibly not, that tires you out just a little bit more. The other thing I want to think about, Jeff, is how's your core doing? Whenever anybody says back pain to me, the first thing that comes to my mind is core. And we talked a lot about core yesterday, guys. And one of the number one problems caused with core balance, weakness, tightness is back pain. Especially in the limb loss community. That's interesting because my first mind went to alignment. The alignment's probably off. One of those things is if you're above the amputee and your hip flexion contracture
is let's say this angle right here. If I force your leg, if I pull your leg into this position, it's going to have to give somewhere, right? The prosthesis is going to be strong, made out of carbon fiber and fiberglass. So that's not going anywhere. So the path of least resistance there is usually the lower back.
Yep.
So we start to get that lordotic
Yep.
lower back presentation, and forcing the back in the position it doesn't want to be.
And after a mile or two, Jeff, that's when it's really going to start to come out.
Right.
Okay. And again, if you are lordotic, right, you got the arched back because you have a bit of a contracture and tightness in your hip. That means the transverse abdominis, your pelvic floor, all of the parts of the core cannot work together, and they can't do their job properly. Okay.
She's
So
got
again,
a great little trick
Yeah?
for that I learned not too long ago.
you tell me.
So we're above the amputee, let's say the right side, right? If you're not sure if your flexion contracture is being accommodated for, and there's some prosthetic tricks where we usually add a few extra degrees to allow a smooth gait. But if you're not sure, if you can, could I borrow you, Cosi?
Yes.
So me as a right side amputee, Cosi as the clinician,
Okay.
just be supporting me.
This way.
So, would be supporting me, and she would ask me just to step up and down a few
Okay.
times. Make sure I'm looking straight ahead.
Uh-huh.
So I'm not looking down at what's happening
Yeah.
below. But as you lift, if you're a right side amputee, as you lift your right side, if you're not accommodated for, your flexion is accommodated for, then your hip wants to lift. And as you step down, you're actually going to find that leg is going to be in front of your left side. So a hip flexion contraction is step up and down. And then I ask someone to look down. And if it's straight, I know it's accommodated for. If I step up and down, and all of a sudden my right side is forward,
Okay.
usually that means that the flexion contracture is coming. Small little trick.
See, he's got the cool
Use out
parlor
there.
tricks too.
Physical therapist can
He's
use
got
that.
the. I like that. I like that. Susan, how do you know if you're developing or even have a contracture? A lot of it is the tightness, Susan. There's for people who have a very obvious contracture, they're going to feel tightness either in the back of their knee or in the front of their hip when they do certain movements. Those are the two most common contractures that you'll see in an above the knee or below the knee. But again, this is where you need to go to the physical therapist because we really put you through the ringer in testing all the movements in all of your joints to see where there is a tightness. And some of us might find a tightness in your tendons, or there could be a tightness deeper in the capsule located inside of your joint. And that needs a different kind of treatment. So again, if you've never been to a physical therapist, allow me to suggest that you go do so and just have a nice head to toe evaluation done and see what they find. Okay. Hey, Beth, glad you could join us. All right, guys, let's do one more gait deviation. And you guys, if you guys would bear with me, because this is another very common gait deviation. I know we're going long on our time, but I think you guys are going to stick with us on this one. This one's called hip hiking. Okay. This is another very, very common one in my above the knee and my below the knee. So again, we're going to pretend that I am a right-sided amputee, right? Mm-hmm. So when you do hip hiking, right, that's basically it. I'm hiking my hip up in the air. And again, guys, I know I'm doing a very big exaggeration, but I want you to see what it looks like exaggerated in the front plane. And then not so much obvious in the side plane as it is in the front plane. So you guys see the difference there? This is why you're going to see your therapist moving around you the whole time when you're walking, okay? And then my very experienced amputees, they're really good at hiding it. They'll do something like this, right? And they'll do more of the movement coming from up here, okay? So let's talk about a little bit about one of the most obvious causes, the biggest obvious cause for doing something like this, right, is if your prosthesis is too long, right? If your prosthesis is too long, you're not going to be able to clear it through without stubbing your foot. So the solution is swing it out to the side, circumduct it, right. Hike that hip a little bit and circumduct it. That's the easiest one, right?
With the hip hiking, a lot of times we'll see exactly what Cosi was just talking about, that you're circumducting your leg because you don't want to catch your toes, right? You may have caught your toe that one time, and proprioception-wise, you know that this leg is kind of long, so subconsciously, now all of a sudden you're using those gait deviations to make sure that you don't trip, right? With a big issue we'll see a lot of times in those cases is suspension. So that can be from limb change, from the socket being a little bit loose. But let's say you've got a lanyard system or even a suction system that just comes that little bit loose. Your body can sense that the leg is effectively longer, right? Because it's not attached to the bottom of your residual limb anymore. Mm-hmm. So now all of a sudden it needs to compensate and use other body motions to make sure that you're not catching your toes. So that's my first kind of
Mm-hmm.
go-to. Are we getting suspension? Are you all the way in the prosthesis? And then looking at the height of the prosthesis as well.
So this is some of the prosthetic considerations. Now let's talk about some of the patient considerations, the anatomical considerations. A big one and I don't see this as much in my below the knee. This is usually something I see more in my above the knee, but in the below the knee person, it could be just weakness in the quads and the hamstrings and also weakness in the glutes. So when the person goes to step, right, they don't have the confidence that their knee is not going to just buckle on them.
Right.
Okay, and that's the complaint I get a lot is I feel like my knee's just going to give out on me. It's going to buckle on me. So the easiest thing to do is lock that knee in extension and just hip hike and circumduct their way out. Okay. Also, if the foot, and this is more prosthetic consideration, if the foot is set posteriorly, am I doing this right?
If
Set a little bit posteriorly,
yeah,
right,
yeah.
too far back,
Yeah.
then it's going to be really hard to bend that knee. It's just going to be easier to do this, right? Number two thing with my above the knee amputees, and this is the one that drives me bonkers. I have people coming in with some beautiful high-tech microprocessor knees that cost more than my house, right? And they're doing this. They're driving that beautiful knee in first gear, riding the clutch because they don't know how to engage that knee. They don't know how to have the confidence to flex and swing it through and do the timing and do everything properly, right? It's scary,
Right.
right?
With those modern knees now too, one thing we're seeing is anatomically when we talk about a textbook gait, right? Our knee, when we start putting our weight down on our knee actually flexes slightly. That helps absorb some of those forces and is an efficient gait, so you're using less energy to walk. Some of those knees nowadays are trying to recreate that. Now it's different when you're an amputee walking on a microprocessor knee and you start to feel that flex. You might have had a mechanical knee before, and as soon as you get that flex sensation, you know, ooh, I'm gonna go down, right? But those knees are designed to walk that way, and if you try to overpower that by pulling your muscles in a certain way and not knowing that that's how the knee is supposed to work, then the knee doesn't get the right inputs and isn't working. So then you go back to your
Hip hiking and swinging it out. And even the folks with mechanical knees, because with a mechanical knee, obviously, when you bring it out, you have to lock that knee to keep it stable. That's a lot of work to kick it out, get it stable, and then be able to have the trust to put your weight on it again. So it's a lot easier just to kind of swing it out to the side. And we're going to do one exercise today that's going to be applicable to everybody below, above, mechanical, microprocessor knee, to help with that trust of standing on that leg. And that's usually where there's a whole process, right? Whole process, rehab process to getting a person to really be comfortable to swing through and to really do that. But we start with being able to put the weight on the leg and trusting that leg. So that's going to be reflected in the exercises that we do today.
With all of these things too, if you're doing these exercises and learning to walk in gait bars, that's one approach, right? You're going to feel nice and stable. Even if you just know that you have something to hold on to, you're going to walk a certain way. As soon as you exit those gait bars, it's a whole different world. So if we're looking at gait deviations that might not be present in the gait bars when you're outside, and the terrain might be a little bit different, you might be a little less sure about yourself. Those are all things that are so important to practice, not just in a clinical setting, but also in the real world setting.
And again, guys, this is where we pull on Tuesday's talk. Thank you for that plug. The Tuesday's talk all about balance. You know, what's coming? You know, is it coming from the balance side of things? Is it coming from a strength deficit? Is it coming from missing range of motion that's not allowing you to really move through the gait cycle, which is throwing off your balance, which is the whole domino effect, okay? So if all this sounds a little bit woo-hoo, screwy, and a lot of stuff going at you at the same time, guys, again, this is where your clinicians come into play to help figure out what the root of the problem is and build it back up again, all right? Let's read some of this. Beth says, before I became a left BK, I had an entire leg AFO that locked my knee in order for me to walk and forcing me to walk from the hip. How do you unlearn that? So again, and many times there have been those of you who have had to create these compensations prior to the amputation just so you wouldn't fall down for safety. And guys, I do have the occasional patient, usually it's one of my elderly patients, that they're never going to be able to walk freely without an assisted device. They're just very advanced in their years and they have a lot of medical problems. So we will lock their leg in extension and we will teach them how to walk like this just so they can get from point A to point B in their home safely. So, sometimes you do teach these compensations, but when it's someone that can do it without a compensation, that's when it's time to start working on it. So, Beth, for something like that, oops, I lost her comment. Let me just see if I can find that comment again. Whoa, sorry guys, I'm not using my computer today, so it's a little more touchy. Beth was up here. Thank you. Okay, so again, Beth, and here's something, and I'm not going to get too much into the weeds with this one. Actually, when it comes to walking with a prosthesis, you are, in a essence, leading from your hip, right? The pelvic rotation comes first, and that's where the power comes. This is what you're trying to do. This is what gets, just in doing this motion of rotating my hip forward, that's what's making my knee bend, okay? And that's a little piece, we're going to kind of dig into that a little bit today, okay? But that's what actually starts things going, okay? Now, if you had your leg locked into an AFO, basically an ankle foot orthosis, something that kept your knee locked in extension, you were using your hip, but not the right way, okay? You weren't using the nice forward rotation to initiate that movement with your hip. So it's a little different there. And the way you unlearn it is you teach your brain new habits. And we talked about that in Balance Day on Tuesday, the brain's ability to learn new things, to build new neural pathways. So the same way it can learn old habit, it can learn an old bad habit, it can learn a new good habit, okay? As long as you're taught properly. We have a lot of great questions here, guys, and I want to make sure we have time to get to the exercises. So folks, we're going to go ahead and do our very first giveaway for today. Okay, and guys, if I didn't get to your question, please send it to me in an email, www.cositalks.com. I answer every single question myself that goes through that email account. So send it there and I'll be sure to answer your question. The first giveaway is from Prosthetic Center of Excellence today. Yay! So guys, we're going to be giving away, hang on, please hold. And I'm back. So we have a wonderful water bottle, we have a mask, and we have a $50 Billy gift coupon. Would you like to explain what that is?
Yeah, so Billy's a shoe company that we've started working with past few months. They designed a pretty unique shoe that has a zipper around the outside and allows you to enter really easily without having to worry about all the tying of the shoelaces. We found that really helpful with our prosthetic patients as well as some of our orthotic patients. Just getting inside of the shoe, not having to worry about the laces, and not having a Velcro closure, but still looking like a shoe.
Yep.
The owner is actually, he's in a wheelchair. I believe he's quadriplegic, and designed this whole company around the fact that he needed that type of shoe. So we want to support them, and they kindly helped us with this donation.
That's a really neat. I love that. I love that. So guys, here's what you got to do. If you want to win this $50 gift card, water bottle, and mask, go to the Prosthetic Center of Excellence website, which we're posting that link right now for you, and tell me, go to the patient spotlights. You'll see that in the tab. What is the color of Leslie's socket? Go. Whoever types the comments in, we're going to pick a raffle winner out of that. So once again, go to the Prosthetic Center of Excellence website under Patient Spotlights and tell us the color of Leslie's socket. I really need to get the Jeopardy.
I was just thinking that.
Moments. I can't tell you how many times where I'm just like, Glenda says, I have 2 pairs of Billy shoes. Love them. Good.
Oh, cool.
I just found out about them through Alex. And you're colorblind, John? Take a wild guess. Just take a guess. Okay. So Megan, okay. We're starting to get some answers rolling in. All right. We got some answers rolling in. We're going to give you guys about 15 more seconds to get some answers in, and we're going to pick a raffle winner from there.
We actually cool thing about Leslie. She lives a few miles from our clinic, and we recently trialed out a new 3D printed socket with her. So we're kind of exploring and dabbling into that side too, and it was completely printed based off her old socket.
That's pretty cool.
So that's kind of a new technology that I'm sure to talk about at some point too.
Yes. Yeah, I haven't done a socket show in a long time. I need to update. We were talking about sockets and all the fun stuff that's coming out nowadays. All right, guys. Yes, we basically, the answer is some flavor of gold, yellow, or mustard, and you've got it tan for those of you who there you go. Okay, good morning, Taylor. Thank you for joining us. Okay, our winner for today is going to be Denise Jackson. Denise, congratulations. After the show is over, make sure that you email me your address so that I can send you all of your goodies. So thank you again to Prosthetic Center of Excellence for this giveaway, and for Billy, thank you for sponsoring this for us, guys. So Denise Jackson, please be sure you send me your address. All right, guys. Please don't go anywhere. We're going to take a 1-minute break. We're going to kind of set things up here, and we're going to bring on our very, very extra special guest today. So stick with us 1 minute, promise. Hi, everybody. Okay, so I lied. It was 2 minutes instead of 1. We had to figure out with the computer. If I could just take a picture right now of what this looks like, this setup looks like, I think it would bring a lot of chuckles out. All right. So, guys, welcome back again to the Cosi Talks 101 live event series, day 3. We're talking about gait deviations. We just finished. People got like a whole college education there. A lot of stuff that we threw out at you.
I learned a lot.
Yes. No, and guys, I want to welcome Suzanne Hathaway. Thank you so much for being here. If some of you recognize Suzanne's beautiful face, it's because she's been on my show before. You might recognize her from when she played cello. We did a Christmas concert last December, along with Colleen, our violist, and did some beautiful Christmas carols. So she's going to help us tell her story and then demonstrate some exercises later on. Okay.
Definitely.
But first, guys, I also like to tell people stories. This is just the part I enjoy about doing this show. And I want to hear, we're also going to be hearing about Alex's story, how he became a prosthetist, his work with the Prosthetic Center of Excellence. So I'm going to zip it up and I'm going to let you talk.
Yeah.
So tell us a little bit about yourself, Alex.
So for me, prosthetics was a second career. When I moved to America, I'm originally from Germany. So when I moved to America, I was working as an engineer, medical equipment engineer, mostly in developing countries. So a lot of my time, about 6 to 8 months out of the year, was spent all across the world, in Africa, in South America, in Southeast Asia, helping establish clinical infrastructure for medical equipment. one of the places I was working at in Tanzania, the Kilimanjaro Christian Medical Center, KCMC, they have a large, in Tanzania, they have a large prosthetics department, one of the biggest in East Africa. And I was there, we work on medical equipment, and one of the technicians approaches me and he's like, do we inventory the prosthetics facility? I'm like, what is the prosthetics facility? I had no idea at the time. So we go in there, and that's honestly one of the moments in my life that I can look back on and remember exactly the sensory overload of walking down those stairs and being in this facility. Very different from a Western facility, but you have the people in white lab coats, you have this plaster dust, you have people walking for the first time, you have emotions, you have this craziness, this wild environment. I need to learn more about this. I need to figure out more and see if this is something for me. At the time, I was looking to work more with people, make a difference in that way. And I was in the work that I was doing, but I wanted it to be direct, one-on-one with people. And this was just such a good fit. So I came back, spoke to my boss. I'm like, hey, I'm thinking of doing this. Could you maybe pay me for 4 days and one day I'll volunteer at this prosthetics facility? So I started that, and 4 days a week at my old job turned into 3 days a week at my old job and 2 days at the prosthetic facility, and slowly transitioned into going back for a master's. And I'm a prosthetist.
Well, I knew you were originally from Germany. I had no idea that you had a career prior.
Almost 5 years.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. And it's interesting. We were talking about this because you and I met when I started doing the show a little bit. You reached out to me.
Yes.
On the show, and I wasn't sure who he was, but you were in town.
Before all the branding and all that, it was Cosi.
Just me. And taking your board exams here, and you have really taken the O&P world by storm. So tell us a little bit about some of the experiences that you've had since becoming a licensed prosthetist.
Yeah, so I tried to take advantage as much as I could of any opportunity, right? Whether it's volunteering, whether it's being part of adaptive sports, whether it's just working with a whole gamut of patients. ROMP, the Range of Motion Project, I know you've mentioned them before. Did you have LP on the show?
Yes, I've had LP on the show, yes.
So they were a group that I actually went down to Ecuador and spent some time with their founder, Dave Krupa, and learned prosthetics from him. Thank you, Dave. And just been involved with that organization ever since. They're all about mobility. They're all about getting out there and doing what you can and whatever you want to do, not putting limits on the person. That's actually where I met Reggie as well.
Yes.
We were in Ecuador, and we climbed the mountain together. Ended up getting lost for a few hours. But that's a different story.
It was Reggie who got you lost, right? It was Reggie.
Yeah, it was Reggie.
Totally Reggie's fault.
It was definitely Reggie. And they're a group. They're involved in South America. They're involved in Central America. They're involved in the U.S. They're actually doing a lot to help empower people who don't have access to insurance or access to these components, because that's their big push. It's that someone isn't limited by their body or their ability. They're limited by their components or access to components a lot of times. Group worked with them when I was working in Oklahoma. I worked through Limbs for Life, which is another big organization which takes donations, and they help empower people by providing them with the technology that they need if they don't have access to it through their insurance. Because unfortunately, that's a big limiting factor out here is not having the ability to pay for these expensive devices. Mm-hmm. So us as prosthetists, we go over and beyond a lot of times to make sure that people have access to what they need. Donate our time, donate our resources. But working with these organizations is just so powerful. So if you're looking to get involved with any kind of adaptive sports or getting involved with these things, make sure to speak to your prosthetist and have them look them up for you for sure.
So how did you come, because you started fairly recently with the Prosthetic Center of Excellence. What drew you to working with that clinic?
Yes, so the clinic, the Prosthetic Center of Excellence, it's kind of in the word, it is a true center of excellence. So they are based in Las Vegas, a hub for all kinds of innovation and all kinds of medical progress, if you will. And Prosthetic Center of Excellence, they recently purchased an 8,000 square foot old dental practice and completely renovated the whole thing.
Beautiful. It's beautiful facility.
The plan there was to not have it look like a regular prosthetic facility or a medical facility as such, but rather have it be a warm, welcoming environment. So Taylor Sisson, who's actually one of the prosthetists, and he logged in and said a comment there. His wife drew these beautiful line drawings all across the clinic. So we've got every room is themed a little bit different, all around the kind of desert beauty of Nevada. Mm-hmm. We have a pediatric room, which is just fully equipped to deal with any kind of pediatric patients, from orthotics to prosthetics. We have dolls in that room as well, which have little amputee prostheses, so people can see themselves through that.
Yes, the American dolls.
And then we have a big open gym area. So that was really important to all of us, to have bikes, to have treadmills, to have gait bars, to kind of create that. With COVID, things took a little bit of a turn, but now that we're opening up again, we envision this open gym concept where people can come in, they can meet each other. As you're waiting for your prosthetist to make some adjustments, you can meet some other people and
Can I go work there?
share your stories.
Right? It's like, it's a playground. I want to go there and play.
we find that too. Actually, our employees, we bring our well, I don't have them, but others bring their kids to clinic, and it's just a very family-oriented, very welcoming type of environment. We fabricate everything in-house. So we have our full fabrication site. We have a team of assistants, clinicians, and technicians that work together to make these devices in Las Vegas, Nevada.
So guys, if it's not obvious how passionate he is about what he does, it's not just jumping out at you from the screen, then I don't know what else you would need to see.
Yeah.
And this is what I love to see in prosthetists, and I have local prosthetists here who have this same passion for wanting to help. And you can just see that, just even how he came into the field. Okay. And I want to say a shout out. I've just recently met the folks from Prosthetic Center of Excellence, but when I was speaking to Leslie Sisson, one of the co-owners, and we were talking about this live event, and I said, I'd love for someone like Alex to come and do the show here with me. She's like, we need to make that happen. Without even hesitating, she just said, I'm looking up flights right now as I'm talking to you, because I think it's important for this to be on your show, but it's also important to help support my clinicians and giving them these kind of experiences.
Right.
Guys, that's huge. Those of you who have jobs, anybody who has a job, and for your employer to want to invest in you like that, in your growth, that speaks volumes to me about the kind of clinic that they run. And I've never been there yet. So bravo, and thank you again to the Prosthetic Center of Excellence for letting me borrow Alex for today.
Yeah. And Leslie's she's a name in the field who's really known for her consulting business as well. So she's, over the last year, she's really stepped up and helped other clinics as well as setting up their practices. So it's not about us or the individual, it's about giving back to the community, and something like this as well, being involved with Cosi Talks, being involved with helping others succeed, not just prosthetically, but also in their businesses to help other amputees. I think that's something that's important to us.
So we're gonna shift gears a little bit and hear this beautiful woman's story. So I've known Suzanne since I was 15. We were both, I am a very amateur violinist. She is a very professional cellist. And as we were coming up in the ranks in high school, she was someone I admired and looked up to. Her musical skills are just phenomenal, and you should really listen back to the concert back in December. And our paths crossed in high school, went apart when we went our individual ways for college, and then crossed again a few years back. So would you like to tell the story?
Good. Well, about 4 years ago, yesterday, it was yesterday, 4 years ago, actually, that I became an L.
Oh, yeah. I did not.
Yes, my 4-year anniversary was yesterday. I actually had 2 operations, but leading up to that point, I was undiagnosed diabetic. I knew something was going on with my health, but just for a lot of different reasons, just was, busy, life, it's busy, right? And I need to go to the doctor, and I didn't. But anyway, I had an infection and ended up having 2 different operations that week. I went into the hospital on May 25th, and I believe it was 2 days later, I had 1 amputation, and they saw that the infection had gone a little bit farther than they anticipated. It wasn't healing the way that they wanted, my surgeon wanted. And so on the 2nd, I had my 2nd operation. And so 4 years, and I'm smiling. Congratulations.
Yes.
So it's amazing. And so
it's wow. So and this is where our paths crossed again. So this was 4 years ago for you. I was finishing my chemo treatment. So I just met my 5-year anniversary. So we didn't plan this. And Reggie just had his 43rd anniversary 2 days ago too. So, okay.
Yeah.
Beautiful coincidences here. celebration of life.
Yes,
That's how
exactly.
I like to celebration. It's an anniversary to celebrate our new life, right?
Being survivors.
And I remember getting that call. At the time, I was recovering from chemo and surgeries from breast cancer, and I had not set up my practice yet. I hadn't opened up my practice, but there was a couple people in the community who knew what I did. And I get a phone call, and they said, Suzanne's in the hospital, and she's about to lose her foot. And I remember texting you, and it was just, for both of it, like after not really seeing each other too much over the years and then connecting with our own personal health crisis.
Yeah.
And then a year later, this is one of my favorite memories, is a year later, we're both playing at the wedding of a friend. This beautiful, beautiful woman in our community, our church community, she was getting married and she asked us both to play at her wedding. And I remember just, she plays cello, violin, and piano. Is there anything else I'm missing?
Those are the main ones.
Those are the main ones, right?
The ones I'll do in public.
She is, right? Super talented. So she was playing piano and then she switched to cello. And I just remember thinking to myself, who would have told us that a year ago, with everything that we both have been through, you went through, that this is where we would end up at this joyful celebration of this person's wedding and getting to do what we love and play together, and getting to have you on the show.
So you all know Cosi from watching the show, but she's just a prime example of the wonderful people that work as our team. And when I was coming up with what I was going to say today, I had no idea what they were going to talk about. And it's kind of along the same lines. So just the way that things work together, it's just amazing. And once we're all, working together and reaching out and showing our needs, they can be met. So thank you both.
It's our pleasure. And it's been a joy seeing you get back to work and teaching. She's a teacher. She teaches our local youth at one of the local studios how to play cello and violin. And by the way, you've got two of mine coming up to see you at some point.
Wonderful.
I have 4 kids, and the reason I have 4 kids is so I can have a string quartet. So she's in charge of teaching the cello to them. But it's a joy. You get to play in church again and sing and piano and everything. And interesting. Do you mind if I ask, when you're sitting with the cello, did you have to make any accommodations with your prosthesis? Any mechanical accommodations?
A little bit, because mine is just below the knee and it comes up a little bit, but not much. It's just like an angle thing. But while I was waiting to be able to start wearing my prosthesis, it was 3 months. I didn't want to play. I mean, all the things that go on in our heads when we're first going through healing, and the first 3 months or however long your surgeon tells you, it's like, do I really want to do this? It's going to be so weird. Everything's going to be different. But when I finally sat down and played, I was like, oh, I'm still me. I'm still the person that can do all these things. So it's amazing. We can do so many more things than we think.
And you can learn more about Suzanne and her work, and just it's beautiful to listen to her play. So thank you so much for sharing your story and being here today.
My pleasure.
And she's going to be my willing victim today to do some of these exercises we're going to bring to you. But before we do, giveaway. I love my giveaways, guys. All right, this next giveaway is sponsored by College Park Industries. All right, y'all ready? First person to follow, not first person, we're going to go ahead and pick a name from the hat. Follow either their Facebook or their Instagram, and you have to comment #IamRebuilt on their post. Last Tuesday, y'all posted on mine. I want you to post it on theirs, on College Parks. So we just put the link now for their Facebook account. And please hold. We're not frozen. Okay, so we now have the Facebook and we have the Instagram to College Park. Pick one, follow them, and post #IamRebuilt. So we're going to be told who the winner is. So go, guys. Go. You ready for these exercises? They're good. And actually the rain stopped. So we're starting with the summer monsoons here in Florida, but they stopped now. So that's good. All right. And we haven't had any snakes in the garage. We had a snake the first day, guys. Yeah. Real snake. Yeah.
Looks like you're being called to Las Vegas, Cosi.
Am I? All right. I've never been to Las Vegas.
Yeah, if you come out.
Yeah, hint. I'm really
Leslie,
subtle.
let's talk.
Let's talk. Let's make this happen. I want to go play at the gym. That's what I want to do. All right, guys. So we're going to go ahead, and I'm going to wait for the text to tell me who our winner is, but we're going to go ahead and set up the studio again. We're going to bring in a little treatment mat here, and we're going to get working on some exercises to show you. So give us 1 minute, 2 minutes, 2 minutes, and we'll be right back. Okay, guys, we're back. And you can see all the secrets in my beautiful garage. Awesome. All right, we're going to give you guys a minute. Can we switch to the chat section? Thank you, dear. All right, we'll scroll to the bottom, make sure we're not getting any sound problems. Awesome. All right, guys, so congratulations to Teresa Hardesty. You won our Facebook College Park. So we're going to be sending you out a rebuilt shirt, a rebuilt hat, and the water bottle. So Teresa, after the show is done, please email me your address and also your shirt size. So congratulations, Teresa Hardesty, for winning this. And thank you again to College Park. So guys, this is the part that I really love about doing this event series, is I actually get to show you some of the exercises that I'm always talking about. So we've got Suzanne here, who's going to be our willing victim, patient model, and we're going to get started. So one of the things that we talked about is the Trendelenburg gait caused by glute weakness. This is one of my favorite hallmark exercises. All of my patients get some sort of flavor of this exercise. And what I mean by that is, if you're a beginner, I show you to do it one way. And as you progress up the ranks, I like to make this more challenging, okay? Now this can be done with or without your prosthesis. And I get that question a lot. Should I do my exercises with or without my prosthesis? So the answer to that, I typically say, is try it with your prosthesis, because obviously you're just cueing your body to use it and it's more part of you. If you can't, that's okay. That's why we PTs get paid to modify the exercises for you, okay? So we can show you how to do that as well. So as you can see, Suzanne is already in a really great position. And yes, you can do this on your bed, or you can do this on your floor. Another question I get a lot. So as you can see, Suzanne has her knees bent and her feet down, okay? Now with her prosthetic foot, obviously that's gonna be up in the air a little bit just because of the nature of how that ankle is, okay? Her sound foot is nice and flat and planted on the mat. I'm making sure to see that her knees are even here, okay? So to begin this exercise, she's going to squeeze her glutes, she's gonna squeeze her butt together, and then she's going to lift up her hips, nice and slow. So all the way up, 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 and then slowly bringing them down. Okay, so what I'm looking for to see is she activating both sides equally? Is she pushing down equally on both sides? Or is she favoring the sound side? Okay, this is something that you need to be conscious of. So when she does it again, she's gonna squeeze the glutes together, lift up, and as you can see, her hips are nice and even. That indicates to me that she's doing a fair amount even weight on both sides, and then slowly bringing it down, okay? And guys, the reason why I'm having her engage this slowly for this part is I really want her to recruit all these fibers, and I want it to be done in a controlled manner. Alex asked me a really great question before the show, and he said, do you ever do the exercise lifting the leg up in the air, right, to work the same muscle? And the answer is yes. But what I like about this particular way of working the gluteus muscles, the gluteus medius, is the fact that your leg is fixed onto something. So you're getting that proprioceptive input. You're also teaching your muscles how to work in a fixed position, which will translate back to when you're standing and your feet are planted on the floor, okay? So I'm gonna have Suzanne do 2 more of these slowly, and then I'm gonna have her do something a little bit different. I'm gonna have her do 5 quick ones afterwards. So she's gonna go up, nice and slow, good, down, nice and slow, good, up, nice and slow, and she's breathing nicely, again, very good, down nice and slow, and then she's gonna do 5 quick ones where she's gonna go up, 1 and down quick, up, 2 and down, up, 3 and down, up, 4 and down, up, 5 and relax. You good? Yeah. Okay, so guys, if you listen to my muscle talk from last summer, yes, that's my shameless plug for you to go do so, we talk about the different fibers and the different muscle groups. We have certain fibers and muscle groups that work endurance. We have certain fibers that work power, fast twitch and the slow twitch fibers, okay? So when I'm doing an exercise, I want to pull upon both of those muscle groups. So when she's doing it nice and slow, we're working the slow twitch endurance muscles. And then when I have, or after I've fatigued those particular muscle fibers, that's when I'm gonna start to engage the fast twitch ones by having her do it quickly. So that's why I like this exercise, because we can do a whole lot of stuff. Now, if you do not wanna wear your prosthesis, here's how you do it. I have a Swiss ball that I stole from one of my kids. You can use several towel rolls. We're gonna do just the one leg, there we go. You can use towel rolls, you can use a step stool. There's a bunch of different household items that you can use as long as you're being safe. Now she's gonna leave her leg on, but essentially this is the positioning for your residual limb. If you are an above the knee amputee, then what you would do is simply put the ball right up against your thigh right there so that you can utilize your residual limb. But we're gonna put her right around here, okay? Her sound limb is planted just the way it was before with her foot flat on the mat, okay? And she's gonna perform the same movement. She's gonna squeeze to activate her glutes, squeeze her bum together, and then lift up on the hips, okay? Now while she's doing this, she's pushing down on this ball as if it were the mat. Back down again, very good, okay? Squeeze and up. And guys, I always make sure my patients squeeze their glutes before they lift up, because that makes sure, back down, thank you, that makes sure that they're actually activating those muscles and not cheating and trying to use others, okay? So she's doing really well with this. We're gonna take it up another level. So I'm gonna have, she's like, wait a second, what? Yeah,
Talk about
that wasn't in the contract, wait a second. All right, go ahead and lift up your leg here. We're gonna put both legs on the ball. Okay, yep, rest. All right, so again, this is if you need another challenge. And usually with this, when you wanna have somebody kind of holding the ball the first time, because it's a little tricky, both of her legs are now on the ball. And as you can see, the feet are hanging off, okay? And again, for those of you who are my above the knee amputees, we just scoot the ball closer so it's up, tucked up against your bottom a little more, okay? Same concept. Squeeze bum together, lift up the hips. Now in this one, she's gonna have to engage her core a lot more. slowly bring it down. Okay, a little more time, a little harder, right? Okay, squeeze bum together, lift up, and then back down again. And again, I like how she's using a nice controlled motion. This is the part also where you need to make sure that you're breathing, right? Remember how we talked yesterday about our core? That diaphragm needs to be working properly, right? So that you can activate the transverse abdominis in the front part of your core. It all has to play nicely together. So we're gonna do one more. She's gonna squeeze the glutes, lift the hips up, and then slowly back down again. Okay, guys, I do want to make a note about this exercise. This is an exercise that you need to probably run by your physical therapist first to make sure that you don't have any issues that would preclude you from doing this exercise. So if you're experiencing low back pain when you're doing this exercise or any pain that indicates that something needs to get checked out, so run it by your physical therapist before continuing with the exercise. Ready for the really fun one? Okay, so guys, this is one that I reserve for my athletes, my runners. This is the one where they really don't like me by the end of the treatment. Same positioning. She's going to do the same lift, and then she's going to lift up her prosthetic side. Ready? All right. Lift up the hip. Okay, and then lift up this knee. Up and down. And then relax back down again. Very good. So guys, that requires a lot of work on her part because she has to keep her hips stable while her prosthesis is moving up and down. So she's really having to engage the core. She's like, oh yes, yes she is. All right, let's do that one more time. We're gonna squeeze the glutes, lift up. Good, lift up the prosthetic side, up and down, and then back down again, okay? And then for the grand finale, and we're working on this one, I'm gonna help you with this a little bit. Same thing, only this time her prosthesis is going to stay on the ball and she's going to lift up her sound limb. Ready? All right, you gotta make sure you get a good grip on that ball.
Yeah.
Ready? Lift up the left leg or the right leg. Yep, and back down again. Good. That is really well done. And back down again. Okay, guys, this is really, really hard to do, and she did really, really well with it. Okay. So we're going to go ahead and click off the camera for just a moment. We're going to get set up for the next exercise in standing. So stick around. Hang on. Give us 30 seconds is all we need. And we're back. All right, guys, you with us still? Can we go to the chat section for a minute? I'm just gonna make sure I picked up any questions. Okay, everybody's here. Okay, so Kay, thank you. Kay asks, how would I adapt the last part of the bridging exercise, lifting the prosthetic side with an AK? The leg flexes and I have to manually extend it back outwards. Hints. Okay, that part of the exercise, it might not be, especially if you're a very short AK, it might not be feasible for you to do. If you're gonna try that very last exercise, again, you might wanna try it with your prosthesis on, and you get that leverage by pushing down with the prosthesis. Don't get discouraged if it doesn't work out. I had One lovely lady here, she's an athlete, she's an above the knee, and she was struggling with this just because of the suction and the suspension of keeping the socket on while trying that exercise. So if you're not able to do that particular portion of the exercise, don't sweat it. Trust me, once you start doing several of these bridges, you'll get a workout. So if you need more of a challenge, for example, you can take the bridge up and then hold it for a count of 10. And then slowly lower it down. So if you're looking for a way to get more of a challenge and you're not able to do that single limb lift, okay, that's one way you can modify that exercise. All right, let's see. All right, guys, we're gonna show you this other one. This is another one of my favorites. It's called the step up exercise. And the point of this exercise, it's also to start building that stability in the glute muscles. It's also meant to start really focusing on putting the weight into the prosthetic side. Okay, for both my below the knee and my above the knee, to get that trust, to really put that weight, get some proprioceptive feedback in there as well. Okay, so Suzanne is standing here. She's in the square up position. I'm gonna have you scoop just a spin this way. There. Okay, and I'm using a step stool, guys. You can use a shoe box. When I was working home health days, I would take waste paper baskets, turn them upside down, just anything with a little bit of a step in it. And as you can see, Suzanne has a chair on this side. You can either use your kitchen counter on one side or 2 sturdy chairs if you need it, because not everybody has parallel bars in their house, right? So here's what she's gonna do. She's going to engage her glutes. She's gonna squeeze her bum to make sure that she is stabilized on her prosthetic side. Then she's going to lift up her right leg and step up onto here, but she's going to stay planted and then bring it back down again. Pretty simple, right? Okay, so she's gonna do it again. There, and then back down again. Excellent, okay? As she's doing it, I'm looking to see, is she popping her hip out to the side, which would indicate, you know, a lot of people pop it out to the side like this. That means that she's hanging on her hip ligaments, right? That nice big wide bigelow. Hey, I remember that. Okay, so she'll need to engage those glutes to get that hip nice and stable, okay? So once again, she's gonna squeeze here and tap up here. Now, how do you progress this exercise? Bring it down. So I tell people, pretend that there's an egg on here, or if I'm really feeling snarky, I'll put my hand on here and I'll tell them they have to put the foot on without smashing my hand. That one's a little bit more risky. We'll just pretend there's an egg there. Bring the hand, bring the foot up, tap it lightly, and bring it back down. Okay, because in tapping it lightly, it means she has to put more weight into the prosthetic side, more trust here, okay? And again, with my above the knee, I always encourage 2 hands held when you're first doing this, because you're gonna be testing out that knee to see, is it gonna give out? Where's that toe low that's gonna make that knee flex a little bit more, okay? Hi, Mom. So we're gonna go and we're gonna bring the leg up and then bring it back down again. Now, if you feel like you're doing this pretty easily, right, then the next step would be to let go of one hand. Not sure if you're ready. You want to try it or no? Okay, no. So we're not ready for that yet. So the way Suzanne would progress this would be to do several of these, up and down and up and down. And as she feels stronger, she will kind of lighten up her grip. I call it ketchup packet fingers. Just lighten up the grip on whatever she's holding on to. The goal being eventually to be able to go up and down, which I can't even do this very well, without holding on to anything. Okay, so guys, it's a very simple exercise and it's deceivingly simple until you try it and you go, oh wait, this is a bit more challenging than what it looks like, right? But it's giving you that stability there, okay? So then on to the next one. Last one, guys. Okay, so we talked a lot about how when your foot is in stance, you have to be able to trust the foot, you have to be able to trust the knee as you're moving and putting your weight onto your body, as you're planting that foot and moving your body weight over this. And this is where a lot of my below the knee patients, if they're having weakness in their knee, that they're gonna feel uncomfortable doing because they're afraid it's gonna buckle. In my above the knee patients, right, they can be very hesitant to put the weight on because they're afraid that knee will give out onto them. So this is a very simple way for you to start practicing this at home. Setup is the same, kitchen counter or 2 sturdy chairs, especially for my above the knee and my beginners, okay? So I'm gonna have Suzanne bring her prosthetic side a little bit further forward, and she's in kind of like a diagonal position right here, okay? So it's not a very big, wide step. It's just a very normal looking step, okay? So what I'm gonna be doing is I'm going to put my hand on her hip and I'm gonna guide her forward. Okay, as you can see, she's straightening out, she's bending that knee, right? And I'm going to guide her forward until her leg and her pylon are straight. Can we do that without bending the knee now? So just come forward. There. And as you can see, guys, I'm really trying to get her to initiate by bringing her hip forward first. There was a question about that earlier, okay? So a lot of the initiation, a lot of the power does actually come from the hip, and it guides you forward, right? A lot less effort, and as you can see, she's already wanting to bend her knee. And that's not because she's actively trying to bend her knee. It's just the movement of the hip bringing her forward, causing that to happen. So for my above the knee amputees, that's a great way for you to start activating that knee in a very natural way, okay? So again, a lot of times I also in my clinic, I have a mirror placed strategically by the parallel bars so that the person can then see what a vertical will look like. So right now, as you guys can see, it looks like her socket is leaning a little bit far back, okay? So when I bring her forward, right there into mid stance, where her body weight and her comes a little bit forward. I'm nitpicking at this point. I'm doing great. I'm just nitpicking. Right now, her body weight is fully into that prosthesis. Okay. A lot of times, especially with my above the knee, they feel like they're putting the weight on when they're right here. And it's not until I put a mirror in front of them, bring them forward, that they see this. Now, as you can see, I'm not having her move that leg, the other leg yet. It's staying planted on the floor. It's this simple weight shifting move. And you guys have seen some of my weight shifting exercises. Coming forward and then bringing it back. Pylon forward. And again, for my above the knee, this is a great way for them to start testing that toe load. And even for my below the knee to test out, okay, where does that foot start to kind of bend and that toe start to kind of go forward? And if I want to give her a little bit of an extra challenge, I'm going to put some pressure here on her hip, and she has to push forward through my hand. Push. Good. And then pulling back. Pull back. And then pushing forward. Push. And she starts to engage her core, which is another nice bonus. And then pull back. Very good. All right, guys. We're going to turn this around. Let me take a break. Okay. All right, guys. Round of applause for my beautiful model. All right, guys, let me see if I can get some of these comments in. Wait, this isn't my computer, so it's not working the same way that I do it. Okay. All right, guys, so that is the last of the exercises. So guys, go home and try these. Again, run these by your physical therapist. If you're experiencing any kind of pain or discomfort when you're doing these exercises, or you're not sure whether you're doing them with the prosthesis, without the prosthesis, run them by your physical therapist, okay? Now we're gonna get ready for our next giveaway, and then we're going to announce our 2 raffle winners, right? You guys with me? We're good? We're good? All right, guys, for this last giveaway. Oh, it's my giveaway. Oh, it's my giveaway. Okay, so I am going to be giving away your choice of a Cosi Talks mug that all the cool kids are drinking from, or the Cosi Talks glass, and a socket sock that was generously donated by Joan from Socket Socks with the Cosi Talks logo. It looks really, really cool. Alex, come back in the picture. I don't want you gotta get back in the picture here, man. All right, guys. So go to my Instagram account at Cosi Talks. Pretty easy, right? All right, we're gonna pop that one up there for you guys. All right. Go to my Instagram account, follow me, and then you got to tell me what my favorite color is. I'll give you a hint. It's on today's post. Go. You got to type that in the section. Tell me what my favorite color is, but you got to follow me on Instagram. We're good? So you're going to be hitting the beach later on?
I hope so, yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. This weather for sure.
All right, guys, here we go. What is my favorite color? And in just a minute, we're going to be telling you who the 2 raffle bag winners are. Do we have the raffle bag? Can I call those names up? I see some answers trickling in. All right. Got them. Thank you. All right. Our winner for this one is David Franklin. Congratulations, David. David, here's what I need you to do for me. I need you to please send me your address, email it to me on my website. I need you to go to the Socket Socks website and tell me what your size is and if you would like a glass or a Cosi Talks mug. Thank you guys. Thank you guys for participating in these giveaways. And guys, I do want to say something about these giveaways. It's to help these companies that are help supporting this show grow. So thank you for showing your support that way. And now the grand finale, right? Raffle bag winners. So those of you who have been entering into the raffle giveaway through the virtual stamp guard, thank you. We had so many entries this year. We're doing 2. So we picked 2 winners this morning, Lori Rosler and Bonnie Baird. Congratulations. Y'all won big. You're going to get a very, very nice package very soon. So Lori Rosler and Bonnie Baird, please send me your address so I can send you out all of your swag bag. All right, guys. We are done. That's a wrap. So 3 days, guys. Guys, show me something. Come here. Love this woman. Love this woman. She is why all of this technology is working, guys. This is. I cannot thank Kristen enough for being here for me today and for everything that you've done with this show. So guys, thank you so much for all the support for the past 3 days. Thank you for sharing. I know we need a bigger screen. Too many folks. Thank you guys for all the support in the past few weeks and helping spread the word about this. Huge thank you to College Park, Prosthetic Center of Excellence, Vital Fit for donating skincare products, and also to Joan McDonald from Socket Socks for donating these Socket Socks that are in all of these giveaways. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Please consider going to my YouTube channel, following it, subscribing to it. You can find all the live events, all the recordings there, because I know I threw a lot of information to you, so you'll be able to catch the replay. Please, guys, help spread the word. Share this to your support groups and your pages. And with that, guys, I'm going to sign off for today. We're going to have a nice cold beer, and we will see you next Wednesday. Same bat time, same bat channel. God bless, guys. Thank you.